is feeling like my creativity has to be competitive. And I have a really hard time turning that one off and feeling like I'm good enough and assigning my worth to whether or not I can be creative enough. And that I struggled with for a lot of years. And I'm frustrated about that. I don't think this one plays music the whole time. I'm giving it a chance before I mute it. Okay, I think we're good. If I had a green screen, I could like put my head on the body of a person sitting around an actual little bonfire video. That could be funny. I like having y'all in my room with me though. It's like we're hanging out. I just noticed the stitch marker matches this yarn. So cute! I need to think of a project to do for the county fair this year. Speaking of, is my creativity good enough? Not that I didn't get all caught up in it this past year, so I feel okay doing it again next year. But I was like contemplating on using my mystery knit-along shawl, but now that it has an enormous hole ripped in it, I cannot submit that. So I need to think of something else that I can put in. Spin to win challenge this year. Just spinning to a project and then entering. Ooh! That's cool. Mothman Furby. I don't know what I would enter that under. I also don't know. I feel like my sewing craftsmanship is not high enough to be submitting it into a competitive field. Mindbender is when you try to figure out if your own creative preferences / standards are really your own or just a sneaky proxy for desired ethics. Yeah, that's partially why I had to stop trying to make art, because a lot of it ended up becoming like, if I could wow somebody, then I had worth, and it wasn't necessarily about me creating anymore for fun. And that's something that I've been trying to work through, because I would like to paint again. But it turns toxic incredibly quickly in my head. So. And it's just like, it started for me in the 5th grade. Potentially earlier, but I remember it in the 5th grade very clearly. And that's also where when I also started, like, getting upset with myself because I didn't think I was creative enough compared to other people. And it's just kind of gone on a downhill since then. Thank you, Frost! Have a good night!
Cheer 100 hags.
I appreciate you. Her challenge doesn't include the fair, that's just me. I don't think that's a bad goal, though. The deadline is only 7 months versus a year. Is that... I mean, that's doable though, right? I don't know how long it takes to spin for a whole project, because I've barely done any spinning, and I did it on a drop spindle. Hardest part is being aware of that, so you're already most of the way there. I have to get over it though, like... Sometimes I wonder if I need to go back to therapy for it. But it's also, like, where am I gonna fit that in, you know, in my life? And it's not something that is negatively impacting my day-to-day life in the same way that, like, the other things that I've gone to therapy for have. So it's just not something that's high on my list to go get help for. I think I'd also feel a little bit silly, even though it probably isn't. Because that's like a thought pattern that could be negative for me in other ways too, I guess. Please be my bird boyfriend later. Please be Frost's bird boyfriend. Frost is gonna have so many bird boyfriends this weekend. A complicated relationship with therapy because I really can just sit around and tell myself what I know the therapist will say. I really love what I've gotten out of therapy. I did therapy, like talk therapy for depression and anxiety when I was in my early 20s, and that was honestly just really validating because she was telling me like the things that I was experiencing, like how they were happening in my brain, which was so validating. And she like explained like the process of what's happening in, like, in very simple terms, explained the process of what was happening in my brain when your brain is like going into a state of panic, and like the tools to deal with that. Did the music cut out for you guys too? Because it just cut out for me. No, looks like it's still on. Okay. And so I got a lot of really helpful tools from her that I still implement to this day if I need to. It's really rare that I need to because I'm doing really well, but sometimes something happens and then I'm like, all right, we got to deal with this. But now I can. And then I went to therapy in my mid to late 20s for a bit because I had a weird phobia thing that I had to get over that had been negatively impacting my life for 5 years. And that was great. I did EMDR and that was great. So I'm just listening to see if I can still hear anything coming through my headphones. I don't think so. They turn off? No? What's happening? Interesting that they just turned off. Or they didn't even turn off, they just disconnected, I guess? I don't know. That was weird. Weird vibe, dude. If I was struggling with something I don't know anything about, I'd definitely go back. Yeah. I will always have positive things to say about therapy. Obviously there are bad therapists out there, but like, in general. Also, something I wasn't aware of when I first started was that you can shop around for a therapist. You don't have to stick with whoever you get assigned to. If you don't like them, for whatever reason, you can go find someone else. And if they're a good therapist, they'll be like, yeah, good luck. I'm not a match for you and I want you to be better, so go find someone who's a match for you. Yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't know that until My most recent therapist, the only reason I stopped, I mean, my first one was, she was great too. The only reason I stopped seeing her was because I moved. I could tell too that she worked with kids because she had like a bunch of toy horses in her office. And I was so tempted to be like, can I play with those horses, please? He was fine. He gave me some tools. It was helpful, but my second one was great. Yeah, I'm sad that no one ever tells you that. My second therapist, the one that I've had most recently, she told me too. She was like, our first session is just to like see if we're a fit, and if you don't want to keep working with me, that's fine. And so at the end of the session, she like asked me how I was feeling and if I wanted to come back the next week, and I was like, yep, good. It does suck having to start over. Yeah. I'm so tired of having to like start over with doctors in general. So I don't like having to go through my entire medical history. Because the migraine stuff always takes forever. Because then I get the same questions of like, well, did you stop drinking wine? And do you eat cured meats? And I'm like, no, I don't drink wine, and I'm a vegetarian. And I exercise and I eat healthy for the most part, you know, like I don't live off of McDonald's or whatever. Yes, I drink enough water. Yes, I try to get enough sleep. Like, I don't like it. It's annoying. I keep getting doctors, like my primary care physicians, I keep getting ones that like quit after a couple years, and I'm like, can y'all stop? I don't want to do any more of these new patient appointments. I'm so tired of it. But I will say, my neurologist kicks so much ass. I love this dude. I'm like, please never stop. Please never retire. I don't think I've ever felt so seen by a medical professional in my life than by this guy. I appreciate him so much. Chicken McNuggets once a month cure migraines. You know what? If that was true, I would do it. Because it sucks to live like that. It's wild too what can trigger migraines for people. Like, I have a family member who is triggered by the smell of peanut butter. It causes migraines for them, and that's wild to me. Like kind of scary that that can happen. That just a specific smell can do it. I have a theory that triggers like that are a learned thing, and if there was a way to forget the trigger, it would stop. I don't remember what I was going to say to that. I think so. My understanding of migraine is, so I've heard that like once you sort of cross over into chronic territory, your brain kind of learns that that's that pain response is normal, and so then it starts like kicking up again over nothing, essentially. It's kind of how allergy triggers are, except it's your immune system doing the remembering. Yeah, I think so once you hit like chronic territory, it's a lot harder to get that number of migraines down to a non-chronic level because your body starts to like think that that's normal, and so then it starts like getting triggered over nothing. Like small amounts of whatever. And for me, I think that other pain in my body makes my brain think that it needs to be in pain too, which kind of sucks because if I have a day where I practice really hard for ice skating, the soreness that I feel in the rest of my body can make my head start to hurt really bad, and then I'll end up getting a migraine from it sometimes. It was really bad before I was on a preventative. I was skating once a week, and I would come home and essentially that entire day would just be gone because I would then have to recover. I'd go skate and then I'd have to spend the entire day recovering from a migraine that would result from that. And now I don't have to worry about that as much, but it has been happening a little bit lately, which is really annoying because I have testing coming up and goals, and I'm not gonna slow down. So but yeah, I think your system sort of learns to be overwhelmed by things. I guess it's a long way of saying I kind of agree with you. With my very limited knowledge. One day, maybe I'll learn how to be a little bit more of an eloquent speaker. Maybe someday. I think a lot of things that require the use of my voice and like talking, I think that's like a weak point for me. Just use big words. I don't have them stored in my database. I can barely remember small words sometimes because of the brain fog. Excuse me. Oh yeah, another reason I'm really thankful that caffeine does not seem to affect me is all of my migraine medication is loaded with caffeine. I need little words. I need little words. There was a book I started reading years ago, and it was like a scientific book, but it was rewritten to be simpler for like the common folk and not like people in science. But it was still like, it was still a lot. And I started highlighting words that I was coming across that I didn't know what they meant, and then I would write the definition in the book, like in the margins. I did not get very far in that book. I do still have it. I would like to read it someday, but I don't have time for that right now. love Bastille. I hope they're coming to the North America for tour next year. I need to see them live. Again, it's been 10 years. Using myself with writing fancy, quippy remarks is a significant part of the reason why I retain my vocabulary. I just don't talk enough, I think. I talk more on stream than I do in any other part of my life. I don't talk this much, normally. I don't know if you noticed that. 4, 5. Oh, 2 left. We're almost there. And then I pretty much have to go to bed because I practice. Of the time when I see you encountering others outside your stream, you are making some kind of joke that seems intended to evoke discomfort. It's writing is different though. Like writing in chat is very different. I have a more fun and easier time with that. And I do say those things on purpose because I think it's funny. And these are the thoughts that are in my head. Just gotta let the thoughts out. Yeah, Twitch is interesting in that, like, I get to, like, drop my filter a little bit. I just have to figure out, like, where to drop the filter and where to leave it up a little bit, because there's certain things that need to be filtered, right? But it's nice sometimes to just be able to say some of the weird shit that pops in my brain that like maybe I wouldn't say to the skate moms or to my coworkers or to boyfriend's family members, you know, because not gonna make weird feet jokes there. My thoughts usually aren't words. I just have my issue a lot of times, especially if I'm like talking verbally and not like through chat or something, is my brain sometimes will skip like 3 steps ahead. And then I only say the thing that's 3 steps ahead, and then people are like, what are you talking about? Instead of me, like, guiding them through the whole thing, I just skip ahead, and I only say that. So, I have to, like... Should I get tested? Do I need to... This is not... Multiple of you have made this joke at me, and I don't know if it's a joke. Like, are y'all being serious? It's not a joke. Oh god. Who do I see for that? Can I see my PCP for that? The lack of caffeine effectiveness and juggling projects are all telltale signs. Oh. Oh, shit, really? Oh. I knitted when I should have purled. Oh, maybe I'll leave it in there. I need a mistake so my soul can get out. Interesting. The multitude of hobbies. I always feel like... Because the thing that I hear from people a lot of times that have ADHD is that they'll pick up a hobby and then they get scared of investing in it because they drop it in like 2 years. But I have not dropped my hobbies. I just keep adding them. Do I read much? Not as much as I'd like to, but I do try to fit it in as much as I can. You collect them. Yeah, that's Rob. Rob collects hobbies. I think collecting hobbies is a hobby of Rob's. I'm trying to think if I skip over some. I think so. I think I'll like skip down a paragraph, read it, and then skip up to the paragraph I skipped and read that, and then I read back all the way down. Sometimes. The reason I know I don't have ADHD is because caffeine highly affects me, but I have many other traits. Yeah, it doesn't do shit for me. It only makes my heart race if I have like a ton of it. Like, I've had... This is my 3rd cup of black tea today, and then I had an Excedrin. So... That's like... That's 4 loaded caffeines, right? I'm gonna go to bed and sleep great. And I probably shouldn't have any more. Like, I should not have, like, I'm gonna call it 4 caffeines. I know that's not an actual measurement, but that's all I have right now in my brain. I should not have 4 caffeines tomorrow, or my heart will start racing. That's it, though. I just get, like, little heart palpitations. Been slamming Celsiuses lately a few times a day. If you've had a high intake for a while. I don't usually go this hard. I usually will do like maybe 2 like black teas a day, and then I switch to like non-caffeinated. But most of the time I would say it's one caffeinated tea, and then I just switch to a non-caffeinated one. Usually because, I mean, now it's not as much of a thing, but like when I was taking a lot of painkillers for my migraines, I knew that those were loaded with caffeine, and so I was like essentially like not having it in my tea so that I could not be as bothered, my heart could not be as bothered by it if I needed to take the medication. I love picking up new skills and being able to do everything. I could. Like, I don't have withdrawals from it or anything. I've gone, like, I'll go days without it sometimes and I'm, like, fine. So I could do that. But what am I resetting? We're doing the bouncing ahead several topics, but that's the same leaps that others are making. Cody, chat is saying, I I'm trying to figure out how to put this, because I don't want it to come off like I'm being condescending or whatever, because that's not how I feel. Chat says that I should get checked for ADHD. The way caffeine works is it mimics appliances receptions. But what is that? Like, what is it? Do I need to reset something? Excuse me. This should make no sense. Yeah, I really have to try and filter that when I'm talking to people in real life. That still happens sometimes. How much caffeine? Me? These days, it's like 1 to 2 black teas a day, and then that's it.